All right. Hello, everybody. Hi, Matt. I know, geez, it's late over there. It's got to be like, what, 2 or 3 in the morning? So, hello, everybody. Waiting to see who all shows up. Six. Well, six is better than zero. I can give people a couple more minutes. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Hi, everybody. I think we're going to give everybody maybe another minute or two before we get going. Yeah. Hello, Matthew. Hello, everybody, for jumping in. Just want to give everybody a chance. Yeah, if you haven't, please like and subscribe. But I'm assuming if you're here at this point, you probably are uh subscribed. Uh yeah, Matthew, it's got to be really late. Isn't it like 2 or 3 in the morning there? I think you said you're in England. That's like 5 hours ahead, isn't it? Hmm. All right. Well, guys, it's been a couple of minutes. I think I'll get started. David, yes, I did. I did see. Do you see any self defense for Curtis Reeves? Based on what I've seen so far, and I mentioned this when we watched the trial this afternoon. Yeah, 2:30 in the morning. Holy cow! I appreciate it. Um, at this point, the state's rested and they're done with their case. Uh, they have some witnesses who will offer some testimony, but I don't think they've met the burden of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt that Curtis Reeves did not act in self defense. I just don't think they met that burden. That doesn't mean necessarily I think he acted in self defense and he was righteous to be in self defense. I just don't think they met that burden. I think his attorneys made a very good point that when the state played Reeves's interview, that introduced the fact that they showed self defense has now been introduced. Why? Well, that is testimony. That's evidence. Well, that evidence now shows self defense is being alleged, and they didn't disprove it. So I think his attorney made a valid argument. I think at the end of the day, it's a correct argument, but the judge is never going to grant that. They're going to want the jury to hear what's going on. Um, I think I said this before. I'm still on the fence of whether or not this was a legitimate shoot and a legitimate use of force. But if this is all they have, yeah, I think he should be acquitted. Not necessarily because he was righteous, but they just haven't met their burden. Um, this seemed like I said this before. This is like a situation of assholes colliding. Both Curtis and Chad, didn't get along. They fought over something really, really stupid, and we're here now dealing with it, and we get to sift through the aftermath. Um, if you guys have other questions about that case, feel free to throw them in the chat because we can talk about them a little bit more. I'm trying to remember um, something that was brought up earlier, and it was an issue. I know somebody seemed to be concerned about it. Was that he didn't have any relevant injuries or any significant injuries. And yeah, you would like to see somebody who claims they're going to be in fear of death or serious bodily harm be able to demonstrate that. Or, maybe they got attacked and they did suffer injuries. In this case, he may have thought he was going to suffer serious bodily harm or possible death, but his attacker was just incompetent. he was bumbling, or luck was just on his side that he didn't take that dangerous blow. So the fact you don't get hurt doesn't negate self defense. It makes it less likely because were you really in fear if this person didn't actually hurt you? Um, I mentioned earlier, think about it like a dull sword. If I swing at you with the sword, but it's dull, I mean, could I hurt you? Yeah, maybe. But the real fear of like me stabbing you or cutting you in half isn't there. That doesn't mean you can say, well, I'm in fear of getting injured. Seriously. So um, don't necessarily focus on the fact that somebody wasn't injured as a reason why to not give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to self defense. Sounds like you're saying just because he did it doesn't mean he's guilty. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just because he did it doesn't mean he's guilty. Um, Cat's Gallery, besides a high bill, what? How is going to be a deadly weapon? I mean, think about your cell phone. Can I use this to hurt you in a way like this phone? Could I take this and I mean, it's hard enough. Could I give you a disfiguring injury? In Ohio, serious bodily harm is breaking bones, giving somebody stitches. Could I try to jam this through your eye socket? Yeah. Could I start knocking your teeth out with this? Yes. I mean, if I really wanted to and I was on top of you, could I just sit there and start smacking this into your skull and see if I could put like a tape deck in the back of your head? Yes. Um, you know, I guess you just need to think about what could you do with it and what is possible. I mean, that doesn't take much to think. You could use this to hurt somebody. Would it be a poor weapon to use? Yes, but could I cause harm with it? Sure. If I throw this at you, could this really hurt you? Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to stand there and, you're not going to stand there and cut a hole in a piece of plywood, stick your head through, and let me throw cell phones at you all day long. I mean, that'll hurt like hell. So, um, 4M 470. Do I think the judge handled the case properly so far? I think so. Um, I think she's doing the best she can. Uh, I mean, as much as I'd like to give her shit for having all the sidebars, that's more the attorneys than anything else. And I think sometimes this is just the nature of the case, how it was going to play out. Um, so yeah, I don't. Other than that, it's been going well. I don't have any problems with how she's been handling evidence. She's done evidentiary wise better than Judge Schroeder did for Kyle Rittenhouse's trial. As far as keeping pace and speed, yeah, she's light years behind Judge Borowski, but you know, I'd rather things drag on, but at least have consistent rules in it and that, have it be somewhat predictable. Um, Chad dropped this phone after he was shot in the chest. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think we really know. We have a bunch of people that, what they think they saw, what they saw. We have a video that we really can't tell what's going on all the way. This isn't like Kyle Rittenhouse where we really don't know what happened. Even with Christopher Edgecombe or Theodore Edgecombe, we don't. I mean, we were able to kind of tell what happened there. This one, this is actually what happens in a lot of murder cases. We don't really know. It's coming down to eyewitness testimony and who's more credible. There's not usually a camera there, and there usually isn't. There hasn't been hundreds of hours of what's gone on. That's not the norm. Even in a televised society like we have, things happen in the dark. That's usually when bad things go down. So I don't really know if we're truly going to know what happened. We can have likely, it's probably one thing or another, but we won't know for sure. Could so many sidebars because it's a circuit court? Tasha, that's the issue about its circuit court. That's just what they call it in Florida. Circuit court is the low level trial court. So in Florida, it's a circuit court. In the state of New York, it's called Superior Court, which, think about that. It's a superior court, but the highest court in the state of New York is the Court of Appeals. That's weird. In Ohio, they're called a court of common pleas. That's where you have a felony trial, and then you appeal up to the Supreme Court. So don't get wrapped up in the idea of what type of court it is. It's a trial court. It's the low level on the ladder. They call it a circuit court. I think in Florida, they actually have them as judicial circuits. They don't necessarily arrange stuff by county. They have a group of counties or parts of counties. I don't really understand it, but that's what a circuit generally is. Um, other states do it by the county. Other states, every state has their own way of doing it. They're allowed to do it however they want. Um, Not one witness ever saw Chad throw a punch, throw a phone or a punch, right? Um, well, we don't know. We don't know what Reeves' wife necessarily saw because she hasn't testified. All these witnesses, I think it's clear these witnesses were actually able to be around each other, and it sounds like they were able to stand around, and their stories kind of melded together. If you notice, it seems like they all have common threads. A lot of times when you have multiple eyewitnesses, they'll say, "Oh yeah, it happened, but the guy's wearing a blue shirt," and the other witness will say, "No, he's wearing a red shirt." Somebody else might say, "No, he was wearing a mink coat when it happened." But they've all, it's like they've been together. When they were down there, they may have talked a little bit. And since the 8 years this has gone on, they've probably read news articles about this. They've probably talked with other people, friends and family, and I don't think they have the most trustworthy testimony anymore. That's why the defense is hammering them on what they did in their depositions, because that's probably the most accurate thing they can talk about. And for example, the guy who testified today, the older guy, the retired guy, he tried to give answers when he really should have said, "I don't know anymore. I don't remember. Whatever I said before is probably the most accurate thing." But he wanted to give his own version of it. I think there's problems with these witnesses, but we'll see what the defense calls. And they said they were going to call the people who would fill in the gaps. So let's see what happens. Um, yeah, she did testify at the stand your ground hearing, but if she hasn't testified now, doesn't matter. Um, it's it's as though it hasn't happened yet, because if she doesn't testify, the jury doesn't get to hear it, so the jury doesn't know about it. Um, and I think the wife, she may not have been, able to see all of it. I don't know what she saw. Without seeing the stand your ground hearing itself, I would be a little cautious to say how she expressed her words. That's the one thing when you hear a news report about court hearings, you're taking, somebody's telling you what they saw and interpreting that for you. So always be careful. It's always better to see what was done that way. It's your own eyes that can tell you what happened. Um, she lied so much. 8 years is a long time. Uh, yeah. Thanks, Nas. Yeah, it's nice to be back live. Um, let's see here. Nas, yeah, they saw it at different angles, but they've all agreed that the police kind of herded them into one spot, and they said, "Don't talk to each other." They still talked. I guarantee you they did. Nobody wants to admit that because it makes them look, if you're a witness and you admit you spoke with the other witnesses, it makes you look sketchy. It makes you kind of look like a scumbag. So yeah, they're not going to admit, "Hey, I did it." But here they are. Here we are. Yes, the state rested today, so it's done. The defense gets to present their case in chief starting tomorrow. I think they said they have about 5 witnesses. Sounds like one of them is going to be very, very long, because they mentioned going till possibly Thursday at the latest. So this one witness must be huge. I don't know what it is, so we'll have to see. Sadly, though, I won't be able to cover it in real time. I've got a trial starting next week myself, right in the middle of it. So yeah, I'll just have to kind of follow along with you guys, and then probably do the next Thursday. We'll talk about what happened. So, moving on, the next thing I kind of want to talk about was with Alec Baldwin. Um, he hasn't, well, he said a lot of dumb crap in the meantime on Instagram and I think other places, and he sounds like a lunatic. That's not the revealing part. What is revealing is the woman he shot, Helena Hutchins, her estate, so her husband, and the attorneys working on the wrongful death lawsuit have released an animation of what they believe happened. And why do I look at this? Because if this happened the way they show it, I actually think he did something illegal and he probably should be charged. So, he is being sued. Oh, hold on here. Okay, wait. No, Matthew. His time on house arrest does not count as time served in jail. Um, unless they change that, it's the state's decision. But generally speaking, when you're in house arrest, that doesn't count. Now, if you're given house arrest as a sentence, so that's a very common thing in federal court that happens a lot. You're put on house arrest as a punishment after you've been convicted. That can count towards incarceration. But when it's done pretrial, generally speaking, no, it does not count. So he's not earning time at this point. He's going to have to, you have to sleep in the jail. You have to be in the jail to get the jail time credit. Um, so yeah, anyways, guys, I did want to move on to the Alec Baldwin thing. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if you watch this video, um, if he did it the way this is shown, I think he's got some criminal liability here that's actually significant. I'm going to bring it up so we can talk about it. Share screen. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to fire this up. You guys ready for me to move on? I know you guys are talking in the comments, so don't necessarily want to interrupt what chat's doing too much. Why what? Anyway, we're going to move on, guys. So I can't find one that doesn't have all the junk on here, but that'll disappear in a minute. But it's a basic narration. So let's just see what happens. There's some sound. Puts the gun in his vest, and then we see him sit down. Now, this is where I think this is very revealing what happens. Actually, hold on. What is this nonsense? I can't get rid of that. I can't get rid of that stupid thing right there. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's Dr. Takahashi's 94th birthday. So yeah, this is how the camera's set up. We can see everybody there. There's Helena Hutchins down there. Yeah, this happens really quick and they show it. I'm going to back it up for a second. So that's where she's standing, and he's not pointing at the camera. He's pointing off screen. Couple that with his statement of, oh, I was cocking the gun and it went off. I didn't put my finger on the trigger. He whipped it out and pointed at somebody. It doesn't look good. I mean, I'd argue that's probably more negligent homicide, maybe manslaughter. But yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all for him. They show, though, what happens, and it explains how the other guy got injured. And I think that's helpful, too. But yeah, she was going to be dead. She's dying at that point. I doubt they could save her. And absent her getting done in a hospital, that's it. And they show the difference between a live round, a dummy round, and that there'd be a drilled hole, and that he didn't check or know to check. There wouldn't be a primer either. So, but that said, I don't know how the rounds are set up for this movie, so who knows how they were done specifically. But yeah, she's clearly not the camera. This is not a good look for Baldwin. And as you can see, it comes out the back, out the shoulder, and that's how it hits the other guy in his arm. So now what does that show? Well, I think it's important. Yeah, nobody checked the gun, and I'm going to get to that in a second. What reason did he have to intentionally shoot her? I don't think he intentionally shot her in the sense of he thought, I'm going to snuff her life out, because he didn't realize there was ammo in there, but he was pointing the gun, and I think he was screwing around with it. He wasn't being careful, and that's why there was a problem. So, like I said, it wasn't the pure intent to kill, but you don't point guns at people, especially if you don't know if they're loaded or not. Now, Yes, they are supposed to have people who do check if guns are loaded or not, and that was the armorer. And why do I bring that up? Because we do have somebody we need to talk about, and that's the armorer, Hannah Reed. Um, and why do I bring them? Because she filed a lawsuit, and in that lawsuit, to go after another guy, um, she made some revealing things. She made some revealing statements. Okay, so as you can see, she's filed a lawsuit, Hannah Reed, versus a guy named Seth Kenny. And in this, she claims that there's some unfair trade practices, mainly that he sold her live ammo and gave her live ammo when he shouldn't have done that. And the biggest part of this is actually on page 9 of the lawsuit because they go through the entire situation of what happened in the lead up to that day. But they start here. Um, at paragraph 51, Hannah, who is Hannah Reed, the armorer on the set, handed the gun to Alec Baldwin after 10 a.m. Um, and he had continuous possession of the gun and the 5 dummy rounds loaded into it until the set broke for lunch around 12:30. During this time, Baldwin did a bunch of scenes. Um, it appears multiple times Baldwin held on to the gun and that he was okay holding on to it in between sets. At 12:30, they broke for lunch and they put the guns back inside the prop truck. And then if you read here, this is the bag. This is the part now where it gets to paragraph 54. When they returned at 1:30, they pulled the guns out of the safe and placed them on a cart. Okay, makes sense. They got to carry them all over. This is the big issue here. Paragraph 55. Hannah had to step away for a brief period and asked the other 2 people involved that she was working with, Sarah and Nicole, to watch the guns. When she came back, she noticed that those 2 people had wandered away and the guns were unattended for about 5 minutes. So the guns were unattended. They were unsecured. Who knows what happened? We don't know. Now, there could have been a dummy round in there and somebody put a live round in, or there could have been a live round to start with. How do we know? We don't know. Because why? There is no accountability. There's no control on the weapons. We don't know who's touched them. We don't know what's going on. And where does that buck stop? That buck stops at Hannah Reed. Now, why did she put all this out there? Well, because she's an idiot. And you don't make this statement because now this isn't a lawsuit. This is filed. These are statements of fact that she's asserting. These can be used admissions in court in a criminal case. This is negligent. This is criminally negligent. Do I think she should be held liable? Yes. She was the one in charge of it. She was the armorer. Somebody died. She was in charge of the safety, in charge of the weapons. It's her job to make sure that there aren't live rounds on set. You know, with all the discharges that were going on, she should have been involved in that better, but she wasn't. So I think she's ultimately going to take a fall for something here. That's definitely going to happen. But it's with this video, I think Alec Baldwin's going to have a bad day because it looks like he was screwing around, just pulled out the gun and went bam. I don't know if that's because he was being grumpy, being an asshole like he's known to be, or it was him screwing around with it and it went off. I don't really know. So yeah, now they do have people that check. That's the armorer's job. If it were an ordinary citizen that would be charged with something, David, yeah, it depends. I mean, if you think about if you every deer season, uh, people in a hunting party accidentally shoot each other. I think it was this year. I think in somewhere in the South, dad accidentally shot the kid, his kid. It happens. Those people generally don't get charged, and that those are even I'd argue even more gross violations of firearm safety. So not always, but it's not a good look, especially when they're in a clean, sanitary area and they do this, not out in the woods on their own. Maybe it was set up, possibly. I mean, at first, I think I mentioned this in the video. I feel like that gets you into like we're in a Law and Order script, but it could be. I mean, if the guns were left unattended, somebody could have done that. But I think the more likely answer is there was already a live round of ammunition inside that gun the whole time because Hannah never checked and made sure the rounds were live and made sure the rounds were safe. It was just a big box, and she said screw it and threw them all in. So he could have shot somebody that entire day Thank God he didn't when he was screwing around with the gun. It just happened to be finally when he did, somebody paid the price. Um, why would there be any live rounds on set? Barb, there's no reason there should have been live rounds on set. There shouldn't have been a live round within 1 mile of that place. Why? Because they were screwing around with guns. And I'm not trying to say this as a political statement, but these are not gun people. Even people who are very big into firearms screw up and cause problems, but they would understand, hey, there might be live rounds in this box. Well, they wouldn't mess with it. I think they thought, oh, I'm too smart to mess up. That's usually when something happens and somebody usually gets hurt at that point. Um, but they're saying you should have checked the gun when it's past him. Cheryl, they could say that, but he's got in a civil case, he's got a good excuse. We have industry standards. And if the industry standards are your armorer is the one in charge of that, you don't screw with the guns because you're not trained. That's true. And also, as an attorney, I'm thinking from a liability standpoint. If I'm insuring a set and insuring an armorer and working for a company, we don't want random Yahoo actors, some guy who got the call 2 days earlier, hey, you don't have to work at Starbucks anymore. We're going to hire you as the lead in a movie. I don't want him fucking with the guns. We have an armorer. He's paid. He's trained. Here's your gun. Don't touch it till we tell you. That's about the safest way you can do it sometimes. So I think he's got a defense in the civil setting there. Criminally, no, I think they're going to say you should have known better. You should have checked. You can't use that argument in a criminal case. Yeah, he did trust the crew that the gun was not loaded, but part of the rules of firearm safety, there's 4 of them. You treat guns as though they're always loaded. You don't point at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. The third one is you keep your finger off the trigger. And the fourth is you pay attention to your background and what's behind your target. Well, he didn't treat the gun like it was loaded. He pointed at something he wasn't willing to kill. He put his finger on the trigger. I don't believe his bullshit story about, oh, the hammer slipped. And then 4, there was somebody behind him. Somebody behind Helena. So he violated all the rules. If he had done his part at all, nobody would have gotten hurt. There would have just been a hole in the wall somewhere. So no, I at some point, yeah. Now, Nas, Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, it was a little bit different. That one was a gun that had a bullet lodged in the barrel and the blank discharged it. I think everybody on set thought the gun had a plugged barrel, not that there was a bullet lodged in it. I think it's a little different because if you've been told the gun is mechanically unable to fire, at people, a blank firing weapon, which is made to only shoot blanks, that's not irrational to point it at someone. That's no different than pointing a squirt gun at somebody. You cannot hurt them if you're following protocols. So in his case, I don't think that was wrong. This one's different because these are just regular live weapons. They went to the gun store, picked up a gun, and they use it. The gun wasn't modified to be inoperable. You could take that gun out and, obviously put live ammunition in it. Yes, I think he should have checked his gun, but also I, understand firearms aren't willing to use them, but, he's not exactly the most gun-friendly guy in the world, so he probably also stuck with his actor training. He let the armor handle it. Yeah, I don't think he did it on purpose, but at some point, your actions are reckless and dangerous enough that if you're pointing a gun and waving it around at people, you've got to be liable for that at some point, Laura. So, why don't they just CGI in guns during editing? Oh, Critter, because that would look like shit in a movie. That would look horrible. CGI is still not that good. I mean, that would look like crap. I wouldn't want that. That'd be boring. That would look horrible. I think he was in charge. Alec didn't know about the live rounds. They played around all the time with guns. Gabby, yeah, they may have. And if they were, that's horribly inappropriate to be shooting live ammunition through the guns you're using the next day as props. That's really, really insane. If they want to do that, they should have taken them to another location where they had a different set of guns they were playing with. And in reality, they should have been using blank firing weapons. The reason why they don't, to make a gun blank firing, you have to modify the firearm. You got to plug the barrel, you got to do different things. That takes time and money. So they went the cheap alternative. They just bought real guns. This was a cost cutting measure. Um, uh, Laura, he wasn't trained. Hannah's not really trained either. It's clear she didn't know what the hell she was doing. Um, yeah, Cheryl, they shouldn't have used real firearms, but hey, Rust was a budget independent movie, so they weren't going to do the proper thing and go to a proper prop house and get correct guns that were modified. But hey, that happens. Imagine that they cut corners. Um, Baldwin is ultimately responsible as a producer in the film. Yes, at the civil end of it, he's going to be held liable because he was the producer as well. The buck stops with him at the top of the food chain. Um, could he be held liable criminally? No, because that's like holding a CEO criminally liable. That usually doesn't happen in America. So he'll just be in trouble for what he did. Um, so that's pretty much it there. So it's kind of all I really have to say about that. I mean, do you guys have other questions? Oh, hi, Andrina. Glad to see you made it. Critter, in addition to the using CGI guns, I would tell you to go look at the South Park episode where they end up replacing all the guns with walkie-talkies, and it's done as a joke, but you'll see why it might be goofy. um, and I know I'm probably kind of breezing through this, but didn't really. We'll have to plan this out a little better, I think, in the coming up times. We need to come live for the Reeves case. I was live this morning, so I will. If for some reason my trial gets kicked, I will probably jump in because I've cleared out my schedule. I have nothing else to do. But for right now, I gotta get my trial prepared. So, um, next thing was, and this is a case that we won't ever see on TV, is the McMichaels, Travis and Greg McMichael. They're currently standing trial in federal court for civil crime or civil rights deprivations for Ahmaud Arbery. And this is where uh, it's what's been going on and how they're doing it. And this time, unlike at the trial stage at the state court, they're now going for and showing the racist or the race-based actions and motivations of the McMichaels. And why did they bring this up in Georgia? They didn't have to. He shot the guy, and that was it. And it's clear he did. So there's no issue there. Now, why do they have to bring it up federally? Well, because they didn't break a law necessarily just by killing Ahmaud Arbery. Now, if they did it as part of a deprivation of his civil rights and it was a racially motivated crime, then the feds can get involved. So now we can see, the issue of dual sovereignty. The feds can prosecute you and the state can prosecute you. And in fact, you can be prosecuted for the same offense. And in this case, they really are. Even though it's a different crime, they killed Ahmaud Arbery, so now they're being tried for it. I don't particularly like the idea of dual sovereignty or separate sovereigns. I mean, this reeks of double jeopardy, and I don't think this should be allowed. But the Supreme Court has pretty much allowed this since the 1800s, so it's never going to change. But as you can see, they went. Why aren't federal trials televised? Because judges don't want them to be. That's an issue of federal courts, the federal, court commissions. They don't like that. Federal judges get to do whatever they want. They have lifetime tenure. Nothing can ever happen to them. And I can take these off and not look like a doofus anymore. For them, there's a joke out there that goes, what's the difference between God and a federal judge? God doesn't think he's a federal judge. Obviously, you know the inference there, what federal judges think they are. So that's why. I wasn't as surprised with dad and son as I was with Roddy's text messages. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I was kind of surprised with all of it. Now, I just bring this up as a defense attorney. If you're watching this right now live or you happen to stumble across this at some point in the future, if you have crap on your phone like this, or you've put it on Facebook, that sentence when you read your Miranda rights, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Anything you say or do to the police, you have on Facebook, you have on your phone, you've said to somebody somewhere, you've said at work, you've said with your drinking buddies, can and will be used against you. And here you see that. They presented all this evidence, and it's not good. It's not good for the guys. What the heck is this thing? I don't know why it keeps putting this label up, but well, whatever. I guess we'll deal with it. Um, yeah, Travis McMichael, he made a joke about Cracker Barrel turning into gamer word bucket. I say gamer word because I think that's a little less offensive than saying the N word or the N bomb. Definitely not going to say the real word. So he used the gamer word. Yeah, that doesn't look good. And keep in mind, this is being aired in court in front of the judge and in front of the jury. Yeah. This gonna be one of those like ugh moments if you're dealing with it. Then he had a video that he had on Facebook, which so it showed a black kid dancing, and then he switched out the song from Ellen to a different song by a guy named Johnny Rebel. And the music went on, and I know the song I'm talking about. It's loud and obnoxious, and it's really loud. And they played it very loud in that courtroom, and they went on for a while. And as you can see, the music went on for an uncomfortably long time, blasting through the courtroom like something out of a minstrel show. Part of me is wondering how the fuck did that stay on Facebook? Before I left Facebook, which I'm not saying is a good idea, but I think that's a really good idea at some point. How the fuck did that stay up on Facebook for any length of time? I mean, I've gotten warnings and timeouts in Facebook jail for compared to this, like what would be a parking ticket. But who knows? I'm not in charge of it. I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. And then there's, and it's one thing, okay, fine, he's a racist, he's an asshole. But when you look at what happened with Ahmaud Arbery, it starts to make a little bit of sense when he sees a video of Black Lives Matter protesters where he wished he had a rifle so he could go shoot at people or driving into a crowd of them with his car. When you're trying to tell police, oh, I was just trying to stop the guy, the police saw this stuff in Georgia. Yeah, no wonder they thought he murdered him. Travis Michael looks like a huge piece of shit. I mean, more than he did before, but I mean, really, this kind of, seals the deal. There's a joke in here that he makes with somebody. It's in a text message. And remember, this is on his phone, and your phone is forever unless you basically rewrite your hard drives and or nuke it. The phone's forever, and then the internet is forever. And if it's your text messages, they can go to your providers and get them. And if you're not in a situation where the NSA and CIA aren't snooping up all your data, okay, fine, maybe you can get away with stuff disappearing. But otherwise, everything you say is out there for the government to find. And then the prosecutor asked, is there more? And the FBI agent said there was more. Now, I will say, I'm not here to stand for the FBI or say they're awesome. They're a bunch of corrupt assholes themselves, but I don't think they planted all this evidence. These guys did this to themselves. This part, though, I really didn't like. For these guys and Greg McMichael, oh, I was a retired cop, and they don't like Ahmaud Arbery running around causing problems. They thought he shouldn't have been trespassing in that house. Well, they go run around with guns and trespass while they're hunting on other people's property. Now, I know for some of you, you might not hunt. That's a big fucking deal. I've been out in the woods before deer hunting. I mean, I call it deer hunting, and technically it is deer hunting, but basically I sit there and read a book or play on my phone, and the deer never come by. I'm kind of unlucky like that. So, I mean, I get to go sit in the woods for a bit, but I usually never find a deer. So, I don't know if that's unlucky or I suck at it. I'm not sure. Um, but these guys are talking about trying to be all law and order, but then they're screwing around other people's properties. That's not good. That's kind of fucked up. That's a dick move. Um, uh, Hold on, Jackie. You had a bit of empathy for Roddy. Well, not necessarily empathy, but he didn't do the shooting, so yeah, he shouldn't have been convicted the way the other two would, even from a sense of he just didn't do everything else they did, but he was involved. So I think he. Oh, Gabby, I'm sorry your husband got offended for you and all that, but I tried to um, deal with that. Yeah, Jackie, the white jogger was also, I will say, in defense of that, they had, yeah, they also weren't on the lookout for a white guy who had been messing around in the house repeatedly. So, you know, I think that's a bit different there. Because the other people who had called, the other person who had called 911, nobody's claiming they're racist. So the jogger thing, I think, with the white jogger, I think was a bit of a red herring. They had enough there already. So Rachel's saying, wait, you're telling me that they can use anything you said years ago in a criminal case in the future. Isn't that prejudicial? Well, in this case, they're showing, do you have a racist intent? Are you a racist? Did you kill Ahmaud Arbery because he was black? Well, yeah, they're going to go back through and look for stuff. Yeah, they're going to look through your phone. If they think you were involved and you did something illegal and they think you had a racial motivation or a motivation for sexual orientation or gender or ethnicity. For example, let's say, the McMichaels got caught shooting at a mosque and shooting out the windows. Well, they could say, "Oh, we were just shooting at all kinds of houses." But if they open up their phones and it turns out, oh my God, they hate Muslims and they all kinds of 9/11 jokes and really nasty shit like that, well, that establishes their intent and their motive. So, yeah, there are times where it can come in. There's times where it can't. It doesn't mean it automatically will always, but there are times where it can come in, and if it does come in, it's going to be really devastating. Eric, was this all after the fact, or? Oh no, this was all. These things were prior to Ahmaud Arbery being killed. These aren't things that happened after they killed him and then they started doing dumb shit. They had done dumb shit before, so it was establishing how they. I hope that makes sense. If that's what you're getting at, if I'm not right, throw it back up and. Yeah, guys, I apologize if I'm talking fast. Tell me if that's an issue too. But yeah, here's the thing. They have his text messages going back several years. That should concern you. How the fuck do they have their text messages going that far back? Your cell phone provider, but also the government surveillance programs, which we're going to get to with what's going on in Canada. They keep everything about you. That's a little fucked up that they have all of that and they can keep finding that stuff. Now, also, he may have just had his phone records going back that far on his phone. Just he kept on downloading the text messages out of the cloud and had it there. But, so, yeah. And then for Roddy Bryant, and this is where somebody said, yeah, his were really bad. They are. He doesn't like the fact that, his daughter had a black boyfriend. And his daughter apparently is begging him to understand. And it doesn't sound like it was a joke. It sounds like it's a totally legit, real thing that happened. And, yeah, some of it is out of his attorneys claim, well, it's all out of context. You know, as a defense attorney, I could claim a lot of things are out of context or there's an explanation for something. The problem is if I have to explain away, I can explain away probably, one or two things. If I have to explain away every goddamn thing you said or did, well, now I'm just making excuses and that looks bad. So, as you can see, his attorneys briefly argued some of them are taken out of context, but they declined to do extensive cross examination. Um, Yeah, because you can't it doesn't look good. There's no arguing out of that. Um, and yes, it's not illegal to say racist things. It's not, and it should never be. It should never ever be illegal to say racist things or ignorant things. Or you should, free speech is free speech, and I fully support it, and you guys know that. You can say whatever the fuck you want in there. You can say whatever the fuck you want to me in chat. I generally don't like you guys attacking each other, and that's where I pretty much only have the rule in civility. But other than that, I'm never going to ban people. That's how serious I am about this. Um, so yeah, it's not illegal to say racist stuff, but if you're trying to tell everybody, "Oh, I didn't deprive this guy of his civil rights based on racial grounds," but there's a mountain of things where you say really racist shit, that's going to be a hard thing to prove. Like you're like, "Oh, don't believe the past 10 years worth of text where I dropped 15,000 n bombs. I'm really a nice guy. I love black people. Ignore all that." Yeah, you're not going to. That's it. You're toast. So, um, yeah, I don't think they are, and yeah, that's probably going to be it. And they probably will be convicted. So we'll see. Yes, Nas, they did, but I think at the state level, that's a hard thing to prove because they can guarantee they can prove they killed him. But proving the racial intent, you got to be careful because that's harder to prove. Proving a motive is tough. You can prove that they killed him, and you're looking at a life sentence in Georgia for felony murder. Boom, done. You get your life sentence. You let the feds go at him with the racism charge because they can then tie it all together and say he deprived his civil rights because he's racist, and look at all the racist evidence. That's an easier road to go. So I understand why they did it that way. You make sure you have, you know, things that make sense. Critter, I think that guy might be a bot or something. I don't know. Uh, so yeah, I apologize for flying through on it. Was there any past racial bias of Roddy? Yeah, Granny. I don't know if you heard me. He did not like the fact his daughter had a black boyfriend, apparently to the point that he had a falling out with her. So, yeah, Eric. No, they didn't bring any of that up during the state trial, and that'd have been probably grounds for a mistrial, and that would have been a massive appeal issue. So they stayed away from it. Um, yeah, the FBI will, now you're right, the FBI will go through your phone history. That said, though, the FBI are a bunch of corrupt motherfuckers, and you should never trust them. Um, they are, I get maybe I'll do one of them. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Sure, why not? The FBI probably already has information about me and files about me, but the FBI has a history of being a corrupt organization all the way back to when J. Edgar Hoover founded it and was running it. Um, and then throughout the 70s and the 80s, dealing with organized crime, they were corrupt and did horrible things. In the 90s, they did a lot of awful stuff. And then going forward, they've done all kinds of horrid things and corrupt things. So, um, just be careful when you see the FBI says, "Oh, this, and this happened." They are not to be trusted. Uh yeah. I mean, that was what his attorneys tried to do, saying Roddy was just, "Oh, I'm just trying to help the neighbors." Well, it was a little more involved than that. Um uh yeah, Greg McMichael, yeah, when they said what happened there. Um 4M, where did I go to law school? I went to the University of Toledo. And that's in Toledo, Ohio, not Toledo, Spain. Or I don't know, there's probably like Toledo, Mississippi, but no. Toledo, Ohio, way up in the northwest corner of Ohio. I went to law school there. I did my undergrad at Bowling Green State University, which is just down the road in Bowling Green, Ohio. Not Bowling Green, Kentucky. Don't ever say that. Um, Rachel said, just talking about the double jeopardy thing. Oh, I think it's double jeopardy. It shouldn't happen, but the feds can try you. Are they going to bring charges against Kyle federally? No. That ship sailed. And the feds do not like to try things where they think they're going to lose. When the feds come after you, and let's say I get hired and you hire me as your attorney and you get in trouble with the feds. By the time I come in, you basically get a folder with this whole stack of crap in it, and the feds are like, it's all organized very well. Feds are like, here's our case. And usually you're fucked. At that point, it's arguing about what happened. Now, there are some times where you can still take stuff to trial, but generally speaking, if the feds come after you, oh, am I too loud, Gabby? I'm sorry. If the feds come after you, they probably got you pretty good. That's the first thing. The other point I was going to get to, and Eric is correct, he didn't break any federal laws. What law did he break? Did he deprive Anthony Huber, of his civil rights? No. There's no evidence that he did that. Did he deprive Gage Grosskreutz of his civil rights? No. That's the only crime he could theoretically have committed, but it's really going to be hard to say the racist white supremacist guy shot a bunch of white people. And I don't believe Kyle's a white supremacist, but you would have to go down that road, just like saying the McMichaels are a bunch of racists. But he shot white people. It's not a good one, number one. Number two into that, and actually a final point is the feds don't like to try the cases they can't win. This is clear-cut self-defense. The feds would not go within a mile of this case because they know they're going to lose. And even if they thought they might win is feds don't try it. They only go after stuff they can win, unless you're a very politically motivated prosecution. Well, with Andrina, I will say this much: they left him there as he was dying. There's some things to think about. And I bring this up because people come to me and I advise them about. Yeah, I will try to watch Kim Potter's sentencing, Nas, but think about it this way, Andrina. You're walking down the street and some guy mugs you and you shoot him and he's laying on the ground and he's bleeding out. Are you going to jump in and help him? Should you? I mean, I would like to think we want to try to save our fellow man if we can, but the guy just tried to kill you or rob you, and that's a violent felony. So what are you going to do? One. Number two, is that a guy still a danger to you? Maybe. And the number three, are you trained on, helping him? Like, what can you do for him? And then finally, do you have PPE? Do you have gloves? Running up and just helping some random person who's bleeding, that's kind of dangerous. Bloodborne pathogens, what they might have, infections, diseases, whatever anybody could have. You got to be careful about that. You can help somebody and be a good Samaritan, but you get hepatitis out of it. I'm sure your liver's not going to say, well, at least you were a nice person. It does show the callous nature of that. They completely walked away. Yes, they should have, if they thought he was a threat, they should have been nearby, but that wasn't the icing on the cake. It was the whole lead up to it and the stuff on the phone and the way they acted before they shot him. That really sealed the deal. That the part afterwards, they could have been like, oh my God, we shouldn't have done it. And they're still going to prison probably for life. So yeah, I don't think that changes the calculus too much. Kyle shot a white guy who was there protesting. If Joseph Rosenbaum was protesting, knocking shit over and trying to start a fire, that's not protesting. The people who were down at the courthouse getting tear gas and pushed back because they didn't like what had happened, those people were protesting. But no, what those guys, when they found Kyle, those guys weren't protesting. That had just turned into people looking to cause problems. So, no, those guys were not part of the protesting group. They were never down at the courthouse protesting. They were there to be idiots. Yes, Kyle shot people who came at him. And as I tried to explain to people when I was watching that trial, you know, you fuck around, find out, or, as I learned from one of my clients when I was fresh out of law school, run up, get done up. That's a that's a that's another way to look at it. So it's probably why they were. I don't know anything about federal law. No, no, the whole state lines thing was just a talking point. People wanted to make it sound like Kyle was a lunatic, that he came from a whole nother state. And they tried to paint that picture he crossed a state line. Well, it makes it sound like he drove like 5 or 6 hours to show up. He drove 20 minutes. And it's funny because Wisconsin's a big state. There are towns in Wisconsin that are 5 or 6 hours away from Kenosha. And you could drive all the way through Wisconsin to get to Kenosha. If Kyle had driven from an hour away inside Wisconsin, would that have been better? No, that makes him look like a lunatic. So it's just the people who make those arguments, they would find some other reason to bitch about it, but it's all emotional arguments at that point. It's nonsense. Crossing the state line, I mean, he didn't commit a crime by crossing the state line is the issue. And if he had gone with the intent to kill people, you could say maybe that's a conspiracy to commit murder, and then it becomes a federal issue, but you'd have to show he was going to do that from the start. Kyle might have teamed up with Fox News. I don't blame him. I mean, his life's been kind of ruined by this. So, there's something to be said. If people are going to treat you like shit, be an asshole back to them. He didn't carry. Oh, yeah. Ha! You are a funny guy, Eric. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Actually, for Gage, I can probably only do that one-handed. So, yes, if the cops want you, they'll find a charge. Have I seen the video about the two teens fighting in the mall? No. Well, there's so many, and I'm trying to say it's being an ass. There's like a million videos of people fighting nowadays. So no, I haven't seen that one. If can you give me like tell me about it a little bit more? Because I'll try to look for it, or if you can email me what you know or where it was, I'd love to see it. Cheryl, if Kyle was black, he would be in prison. No, I don't think so. If he was black, this wouldn't have been prosecuted. If a black guy at a BLM protest shot a couple of white people, I don't think, especially in this county where it happened, which they're very Democrat leaning, I don't think they would have. And honestly, if Kyle was a black guy getting chased by 3 white supremacists, I'd hope he fucking guns them down and just turns their heads into canoes. He would be my dude if that happened. So, for the same reason why the Not Fucking Around coalition people who were doing all those open carry marches, where they ended up shooting at each other in the fucking legs because they don't understand firearm safety. If somebody had attacked them, I would fully support, the 150 of them Swiss cheesing a pickup truck with a couple of Klansmen in it who tried to attack them. But, that hadn't happened. Well, Jackie, I mean, teens fighting a mall could be any number of people. So, guys, that's why if you guys are trolling and getting some digs on each other, it's brand new today, so I have no idea. Yeah, Rachel, I agree. He would not have been charged. Yeah, if you guys do, I'll try to look for stuff, but we'll see what happens. Teen fighting a mall looks horrible for the 2 police officers. I'll have to Google this. I have no idea what the hell you guys are talking about. Give me a second here. Mall, but that, Googling teens fighting in mall, and okay, 2 teens are fighting in mall. One of them is black. One of them. Okay, all right. Here we go. All right, I think I know what we're talking about here. All right, hold on, sports fans. Here we go. All right, let's get through this and see what happens here. Okay, Sean Lawyer, covered it earlier. Well, it's not the lawyer I know, so hold on here. Is this what we're talking about? All right, here we go. Share screen. God, the StreamYard thing. If you guys ever have to stream, use StreamYard. Don't use Streamyard like I was doing before. That sucks. This is money. Yeah, guys, please like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Is this what you guys are talking about? Does this look familiar? I'll give you guys a second or two to catch up. Okay, I have not seen this, so I'm going to react, I guess, live. We're going to fucking do it live, to quote the great Bill O'Reilly. Let's see what happens. All right. Like some world star shit's about to go down. Okay. 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 Oh. Ooh, kill him. Oh! Get that ground and pound in, son. Get him in guard. Fight back, buddy.
No.
Oh, get off the ground, man. That's not good.
Chill. Brian, get out. Brian, leave.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm just gonna. I mean, they don't arrest him, do
No,
they?
it's because he's black.
Are you fucking serious? Don't fucking what? What? Huh. Nice head movement. I will say the black kid needs to work on is getting in a guard because that he shouldn't let that guy do the doubling on him like that. Sorry, I had to comment while I was watching it. So yeah, that was I guess I'm just gonna have to look at it, think about it real quick. I guess we'll have to rewind that because I kind of need to see that from the start. Oh, we gotta go through the ads. Sorry, guys, hold on. I will say that's actually I have that leaf blower. It's battery powered. That thing is like a beast. With the batteries on it, they run forever. So if you need one, oh no, we're not. No. We're not. We're not going down that road. I want to see this stuff. No, I don't want to buy a Hyundai Palisade. Come on, load up. I want to see these guys play Rock'em Sock'em Robots again. What the heck? I just want to. Okay. Here we go. All right, we're back, sports fans. Oh yeah, Andrea, it sucks these kids are fighting, but whatever. Kids fight. So we're gonna watch that again, and yeah, I got some issues with this. And to say issues. Right now. We're talking to individuals. What are you gonna do? Come outside. Oh! Yo! No, bro. Chill. Okay.
Chill. Brian, get out. Brian, leave.
So my problems with this. Yeah, kids are gonna fight, but black kid grabbed his hand first and swung. I'm not getting into who has self defense here, who doesn't. These are a couple of kids fighting, so that's not really going to be. The aggressor got cuffed. Um, Remember, Eric, if you want to use force to defend yourself, it's got to be proportionate. Um, Double legging somebody, taking them down, and then you know working on your ground and pound like you're trying to be Conor McGregor. You better be responding proportionally. Here, I don't. At first, when I watched this the first time, which was about 2 minutes ago, my thought was maybe the cops saw the black kid being as the aggressor because they weren't in camera, so who knows where they were. I don't know. Clearly, though, they saw the white kid putting in the work from the standing position. He should have been arrested too. He should have been cuffed. They're swinging around and acting like hooligans like that. They both should have been cuffed. Now, what happened further than that? I mean, reading the rest of that article, I mean, we could see what happened here, but the officers are being investigated, how they broke up the fight. Um, I would need to know a lot more about what happened, but yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, it does not look good for now, but there could be more. I don't know. Um, that was I mean, like I said, I don't know, but it's not a good look. I mean, this looks horrible. Yeah, and you know what? I'd say the black kid, was trying to get that other kid up off his shit, but I don't know. I mean, it's a couple of punks fighting at the end of the day, and the cops showing up. I mean, that's where I'm going to leave that. The kids are fighting, and the kids fight. But yeah, they've probably seen both these kids in the mall before. Yeah, I think they should have cuffed the other kid. Now, like I said, I don't know what the cops know, so when the police acted a certain way, I'm never going to take their side. But for here, I don't know. I mean, all I have is the video. I don't know. They didn't say it. It's not like they're recorded on video saying, "Ha ha ha, we're only arresting you because you're black." I don't know what happened. I don't know what they know. It's not like Kim Carter where it's clear she fucked up and we know what happened, or Derek Chauvin where we clearly know he's a cocksucker and stood on his neck. This one, I gotta know what happened. I gotta know, does this kid have a past with these cops? Did the other kid have a past with these cops? I don't know. I'm not sure what oh, I forget what his name is, the lawyer guy. I don't know what he said in this, but it doesn't look good. But just because it doesn't look good does not mean there's an issue. We hate to say this, but I need to see what that investigation is. And it sounds like if the DA is already involved, it's pretty serious as far as the investigation is concerned. So maybe there is something criminal there. Would it be criminal? I doubt it. Could it be they disciplined for being, improperly arresting people? Sure. They could get fired for this. Any number of issues, but I don't think anybody's going to get arrested for it. So the better fighter gets cuffed. I don't know if he was the better fighter, Nancy. I'm betting that kid's name is like Tristan or something who, did the takedown. I mean, he did the takedown and got on top. So, and he kept trying to get he tried to get on the top position. So, I mean, if I was scoring points, I'd give the white kid the points right now. Black kid did a great job getting up off the ground and fighting back. And what are their names here? I don't want to just address them as white and black. Um, let me see here. Yeah, and the other thing is too, Joey, who claims he's Latino and identifies Latino, said he knew once he started throwing hands it was wrong and he knew he was going to be in trouble, so he was surprised he didn't get arrested. So who knows? Who knows why? Okay, yeah. So Kai, I think it's Kai is his name. Yeah, Kai did a good job. He displayed some heart and kept fighting, but Joey had him on top. I think Joey had the points. He had the aggression. If I had to score it UFC style, the governor's gotten involved. I mean, the governor can say what he wants, but if it's being handled by investigating, he can't really do anything other than comment. So, yeah, Eric, but you know what? These are like 15-year-old kids. You're not really arguing. Yes, the black kid did land the major blows, but the takedown. It's like when you watch UFC, you got to get those takedowns in. You got to get some control going. So, I mean, it'd probably be like a 10-9 round. I don't think it'd be like a 10-8 round or anything like that. It'd be pretty close. Yeah, they weren't treated equally. Well, an older kid wailing on a younger kid. I mean, what does it say their ages here? I mean, okay, a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old. Okay, yeah, he's older technically, but a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old, it's not like it's an 18-year-old versus a 14-year-old. I mean, they're 14 and 15. My brother is a year younger than me. If we got into a fight, nobody would say, "Oh my God, the older kid beat up the younger kid." Oh, I know Gabby takedowns don't matter in street fights, but I try to have a little bit of levity here. I don't know. I tried to act like I was Joe Rogan for a minute. Um, yeah, Jackie, like I said, you guys are way too worried about that fight. It's a couple of kids fighting. I mean, that's going to happen. A couple of young bucks going at it. I mean, I had my fair share of fights as a kid. That's going to happen. I'm not worried about that. That shit happens. Um, it's what the police did is what my concern is. So that's it though. I might look into that and see what Traeger says about it. Because I'm a little curious to see what other attorneys say. But yeah, without knowing for sure what this investigation reveals, I don't know if it's fair to comment at this point. Who knows? I mean, it just doesn't look good. And if it's not good, then I hope if they admit, yeah, we screwed up, then they're held accountable. They won't be arrested though, but I mean, maybe somebody loses their job over it. Yeah, Sue, like I said, they cuffed the guy on the bottom. And yeah, Manny, that's we talked about that. It's not the fight, it's what the police did. The police might have looked at the Spanish kid's face and arrested the black kid. I'm not sure what you mean, Gabby. Um, well, uh, hmm. Well, guys, I think I want to try to keep this under an hour and a half, so I think I may move on to the next thing. Yeah, Nancy age does make a big difference, but these kids look like they're fairly similar sized. I bet their weight was fairly similar. So, um, uh, use of force was used. Force was used, and he was not resisting arrest. Other team got set on a couch. Oh, yeah, the black kid landed several blows in the Spanish kid's face. Yeah, maybe. Like I said, we'll have to know what the officers are going to tell us. It's New Jersey, so they're fairly well funded compared to like some places. So I assume they got body cams, and they've also probably done reports. So we'll have to see what they say and why they made the decisions they made. Maybe there's a logical explanation for this. We'll have to see. I mean, we'll certainly revisit it. I'll probably make this a note in my kind of my Excel sheet of things I need to check up on, and we'll take a look at it. And if you guys find out about it in the meantime, don't be afraid to blow that up in a comment somewhere in one of my videos. Yes, Sue, arresting one, but you know what? If they're both fighting, you arrest them both to chill them out, and then you charge them both. Like I said, we don't know yet. We're going to have to find out. Yeah, I'll keep this one in my pocket. One of like a million at this point, sure. Um, so the next one is one that's not here in America. Well, it is here in America, and we'll talk about why. Um, guys, I'm going to talk about what's happening up in Canada. Not about the trucker protests, but the government's response to it. If you're not aware, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and his government invoked the Emergency Act, the Emergency Laws Act. Basically, it's the emergency war powers. You think like, hey, during World War II, or if the Chinese invaded or aliens landed, the war powers you would use. Runkle of the Bailey is, oh, Sue, you're from Canada. Cool. Yeah, and Rachel's correct. We should remain ambivalent. We don't know everything. So we'll just have to take a look. I will tell you, it doesn't look good, but that doesn't mean it's the end all be all. So Oregon citizens, yeah, Gabby, we're going to talk about it. So they passed basically the Emergency Powers Act, and it really is basically meant for times of war. Runkle the Bailey is a Canadian attorney who has a YouTube channel, and he talked about when he learned it in law school. His professors told him, "Oh, this is meant for World War III. Like you'll never see this ever invoked, and if you ever see it invoked, oh my God, the world's ending." Well, what happened? Well, the truckers were protesting, and they're blocking some roads and doing things like that. You may disagree with how they're doing it. That's fine, but does that necessitate using the powers that they're using? I mean, it's almost like them kind of doing an emergency version of the Patriot Act, and I'll explain why. As you can see, the liberal, and so in Canada they have the Conservative Party and they have the Liberal Party. That's actually what they're called. Um, and the Liberal Party is the party that holds the majority in coalition government right now, and Justin Trudeau is their prime minister. So they invoked this earlier in the week, and they claim that there's ideologically motivated violent extremism. You know, once again, I'm not going to get into whether or not that's real, but that's one of the reasons they cite the act. It's the first time since this was reformed and passed in 1988. The government has various things they can do. And what it does, it allows the government to act outside of what they have as Canadian law. And they don't have a constitution, they have a charter of human rights. They have a charter of rights. Well, it's not the same as the Constitution. They can, okay, yes, I agree. The Constitution does get shredded from time to time by the Supreme Court and the government, but it's a little more stable here. So, what this allows them to do is actually a little concerning. So, what happens? What can they do? Um, well, here's some of the big things they can do. Um, the temporary measures include, you can prohibit children under the age of 18. You can't bring them with you. They can ban foreign nationals from entering Canada to participate in an illegal assembly. Okay, that one makes sense. A country can kick people in or out. Whether you agree with immigration policies and procedures, a country has the right to kick people in or out, just like you have the right to kick people out of your own property. Prohibiting from children being able to participate in a lawful assembly. Well, children have the right to free speech. They have the right to protest. I don't think that's legal, and it shouldn't be legal. Authorization for the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which kind of operate at a federal level as a federal police force to enforce local laws. Okay, that makes sense. Hey, if we're having problems, other people need to come in and help out. That one's not the big issue. This one is authorizations for banks and insurance companies to freeze bank accounts and cancel insurance policies and other business agreements. Before I get too far, yes, the Patriot Act allows this too, and that should scare the shit out of you. And why is that wrong? Well, when you think about it, there's two kinds of ways the government can act with power. They could send in the troops and basically do Tiananmen Square. Force you to tell you to leave. If you don't leave, they come in and beat you. And if you refuse to leave, at that point, they kill you. That's violent and it's bloody. But at least you see it happen. You know who's in charge. And you know who you can fight, who you can protest, who you can try to get rid of through diplomatic and democratic means. That's one way of doing it. The other way is a covert way, with covert power. You go and protest. Okay. Well, some bureaucrat or somebody in some organization somewhere goes up to your bank account and goes, now you have no money. You can't eat, you can't feed your kids, you can't pay your bills, you can't get gas for your car, anything. I mean, what are you going to do? That's horrible. I couldn't imagine that. How do you protest it? How do you stop it? Well, what office do you go to? It's some bureaucrat, it's some nameless person you don't know. Or is it somebody who works for your bank who made that decision? There's no due process, so you don't know who's in charge, who's attacking you. So how can you fight it? You can't. That's a covert power. And why is that dangerous? Well, the government says, "Oh, we're just using it now." They're using it now. They're going to use it again. I don't trust the government not to violate the rules. Oh, we promise not to do it. Um, you can't trust the government. The government uses power; they never give it up. In fact, one of the other parties, it's called the National Democratic Party. I forget what they're called. They're a minority party that works with the Liberal Party as part of their government. And they said they are going to support the use of these emergency acts. They're going to pull their support if it's no longer continued, if the measures aren't necessary, if the government adds powers. The government always adds powers. The government's never going to stop. The government's over going to step their bounds. Why? Because governments always do. They always abuse things. They always abuse people. They always treat people like shit. Regardless of race. I mean, that's a topic. Yes, America's got its own racial issues. But the government itself, the federal government, has no problem shitting on anybody and everybody, myself included, and each one of you out there. Cheryl, they say that's not the money they're taking, but according to who? Do you trust the government? No, I don't trust them. They aren't using due process. They aren't going through courts. How do you know? You don't know. You can't trust them. You can never trust the government. And why? Because this dark backdoor power is the dangerous stuff. It's the scary stuff. And I think it's very interesting because there is a left-leaning, well, actually very left YouTuber. His name's Vosh. I don't agree with anything he says usually. But he brought up a point, and I fully agree with it. If you're on the left and you see this, you should be scared. Because if you're on the left, a lot of people who are either progressive or liberal in America think the idea of a general strike is a good idea to try to force things like Medicare for all, insert whatever cause you want. A general strike, everybody says, fuck it, I'm not working. Well, that's a problem because, if you try doing it in Canada right now and you cause economic harm, Justin Trudeau is going to come after you because you're harming the country's economic abilities based on this. You can't trust the government to be benevolent. And that's something I learned from a very wise man, Papa Martin, my dad. You can never trust the government to be benevolent. If you do, you're going to get let down all the time. That's dangerous. Judges are corrupt and so are many DAs. Some are, yeah. Okay, hold on here, guys. Cheryl, here's the deal. I don't know if you can, and if you feel like you want to trust your government, that's fine. But I'm pointing this out here that for us in America, that should be a warning call. If Canada wants to do it, so be it. But we should never let the government do that here. Using that against people who are making political statements. Now, imagine if they'd done that to Black Lives Matter. Because if we're using the same criteria that Justin Trudeau's using, it was 2020 was crazy. Compared to the trucker convoy and all that, this is kind of like, it's bad, but 2020 was crazy all around on all sides. You don't want this to happen. You should be scared of this happening. Why? Because this kind of power is the power that tyrants and bad guys throughout history would have died to have. For example, in America's history, coal companies. Well, instead of hiring a bunch of Pinkertons and strike breakers and having to, kill miners and engage in open warfare on the, front streets of main streets in America, you realize if they had the opportunity, they could just take all your money away and starve you out. Oh God, they would have done that in a heartbeat. Why? No muss, no fuss. That's super easy. A couple clicks of a mouse, and a stroke of a key, and you eliminate your opposition. You starve them out and they give in. Any of the strikes you've heard about in American history, the Pullman strike, instead of sending in the National Guard to kill the striking workers and settle it, they could have just starved them out and waited them out. They would have loved that. Anybody throughout history, if you could have just starved your opposition like that and just killed them off slowly that way, oh, that would have been the most beautiful thing to do in the world. Yet we have that power right now in the law. That's in the Patriot Act. That's up in Canada. And yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to get involved with how that's happening, but that's the law they're using. And if you think about it, suspending civil rights and this is an emergency, September 11th, the World Trade Center just collapsed. I guarantee up in Ottawa and Canada, they're thinking, oh my God, are we going to get a terrorist attack? Because the rest of the world thought that was going to happen too. They didn't invoke this law on September 11th. That's how crazy I think this is. Not then, but now? I mean, come on. I think that's a bit much. I don't think it's necessary. It's just going to create bad precedent. Now the box has been opened, people are going to use this, and they're going to use it more and more, and they'll abuse it. But this should be a warning call if you live in America. Things like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act. And before you think I'm sounding like Alex Jones, we can't trust the government to be benevolent. Because let's say you're protesting and they freeze your bank account. Okay, well, I give up, Mr. Government. I'm done. I promise. Well, is that enough? Do they automatically unlock it? No. Well, who do you go to? What do you have to do to show you're not involved anymore? What if they say, we don't believe you? That's not good enough. You can't, and it's scary. I don't like that. This is what's happening there can easily happen here. I'm terrified of that. And if you haven't, I think you guys should take a look at it. Like I said, Cheryl, you guys do what you want up there, but if they're going to do that for this, imagine, things get imagine what they'll do later. Kim Potter sentencing's tomorrow. I didn't realize it was tomorrow. Oh shit. I did not know it was tomorrow, but I will. You know what I'll do, guys? I've got client meetings all day tomorrow. I've got to see a client in jail, and I got to get some trial preparation done for my trial next week. I will do something in the afternoon. I might do a live stream. I'll probably do it, and we can cover it. I'll rewatch through it, and we'll talk about it. I didn't realize it was tomorrow. I apologize. So I'll cover it tomorrow. It probably won't be till the afternoon. So just keep your eyes peeled on notifications, and maybe I'll put something out there. The state has retracted their desire to seek an upward departure. I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. Yeah, if she messed up, that's fine, but I don't think every time you should be out for blood in the streets as the state. That said, though, I mean, she's probably still going to do the better part of 5-6 years. I don't think it's going to be less than that. So, and obviously getting 5, 6, 7 years is better than like 15, but still a lot of fucking time to do, regardless of who you are. I think you write a bit too much. Boy, I take that far. Cheryl, yeah, they're coming our way. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, and I'm like I said, the way we have things here in America is different than Canada. We share a common language and some common history, but our legal systems are very different. So, we survived 2020. We'll survive some people blocking the roads. Shit happens. We're pretty ingenuitive in America. We're good at making shit up as we go. So, hopefully not in the legal sense, but adapting to problems. Um, let me see here. They traveled a long way. Trudeau should have met with them. Like I said, that's a discussion for different topics and different times, maybe a different channel. But they made their decisions, so hey, it's how they do it. And I know it's not just blocking the roads; they're blocking the ports. As far as the allegations of violence and stuff, Cheryl, I understand that. I'm just not gonna, you know, I want to see actual charges and proof of the investigations, not just press releases. All right, Jackie. Yeah, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. Guys, it's 11 o'clock. I assume a lot of you guys want to get some things done. I told you about an hour and a half. We'll do this again. You guys seem to like it. I actually enjoyed it. Anything else? Guys, I'm serious. If you have questions, throw them out there in the comments. If you have a case you want me to do, throw it out there in the comment. I'll look for it. Um, yes, they won't stop honking. It's not just the honking, but yeah. You guys have a great night, and yeah, I will probably be on in the afternoon, then late in the afternoon, covering what happens. Good night, Cheryl. Good night, guys. Take care.